Guys, I had I was going to be here and do the show like I normally do Thursdays, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson here on Radio Free Fargo. Canna-Talk ND on Facebook. ND for Freedom of Cannabis is also the Facebook page. Canna Heads on Sunday on Canna-Talk ND on YouTube. RadioFreeFargo.org. You can go there and donate, and you can listen to all this stuff now or later, like the chewy candy. But I just, the week in cannabis, which is what I do. We're going to talk about cannabis for the next hour. We're right ahead of democracy now and then into peace talk. So I thought, well, what better to slide in on a Saturday morning and talk about, power to the people. And we need to take the power back. And we'll talk about that. But cannabis news is clicking along. If I use the hour that I curated for Thursday, it would have been old news by next Thursday, when I'll, of course, be back to do Canna-Talk ND with Wilson, 4 to 5. 4:20, we cover the Canna news. So here it'll be 10:20. I think that might be like a call to, we got a 10:20 over here. I don't know if it's good, but I'm going to be telling you everything I know in the state and nationwide in regards to cannabis and cannabis legalization and the progress it's making and the curveballs that they're getting thrown at them. And it's I'm not going to say it, but it really is the law enforcement that seems to be, feeding the legislation, the single measure. When did cops start figuring out how they're supposed to read a measure? I mean, when did they start figuring out, there's more than one topics in this measure? When did they become Captain Lawyer Pants? They're supposed to be out busting tweakers. They're figuring out legislative preamble that you got to go to school to even learn. I mean, but anyway, we'll talk about that at 10:20. Nebraska still got me fired up, but there's a lot of good news. And I was just going to mention Thursday, I was in the studio, and then I had a medical thing that came at me fast. So I went and got it checked out, and I'm going to live. But it was the type of thing that I overthought. And there was just no way I could go through. And so thankfully I had I got a family support system. They talked me into doing the right thing. So I went and got it checked out. But if I didn't have that, I would definitely use and suggest the mobile mental health crisis response number, 1-800-233-4512. Because if you've got a funny problem you've just noticed and it shouldn't be on your body, weird things happen to your brain after you go through that. So take it from me. Just go get it checked out. The New Life Center helps people who are homeless and hurting go from merely surviving to truly thriving. Their aim is to help people in need discover value and find hope. The New Life Center has evolved into a multifaceted emergency and crisis service center. To learn more about the NLC, visit their website at www.fargonlc.org or give them a call at 701-235-4453. And they do, I know they do supper at 5 o'clock. And when you get in, you got to blow into the blower drinky thing. So, and if you fail it, you don't get to eat. I learned that, not necessarily the hard way, but it was kind of a fun thing. So it is a new thing at the, not new thing at the New Life Center. But anyway, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We're right in front of democracy now and right in front of peace talk, which is kind of cool. So I'm a different Wilson on Saturday morning. I'm not going to lie. If you put my kind of even tone next to, 4 o'clock, it's completely different. But we got tunes, and we're going to get right pushing here. Here's a new Fight the Power, Public Enemy, and they got a bunch of friends with them to do it. It's like Nas, Rhapsody, Black Thought. Here you go. That's right. Fight the Powers That Be. Remix 2020, that's got Nas on it, Rhapsody, Black Thought, Yahi, YG, and Questlove. They're coming out with a whole album here pretty soon. That's just the taster that they give you. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's where you're at. Normally I'm on Thursday, but surprise, I'm doing a Saturday worth of the week. Because like I said, cannabis news is changing so fast. And I planned, so, I've got an hour curated. So I'm giving it to you Saturday morning right in front of Democracy Now! And Peace Talk like a champion. Because that's, liberty and freedom. Put me on that roster. Put me on that schedule. I could settle in here pretty nicely. But I wanted to mention something really quick because, I just hammered this House Bill 4001. And so I just want to zip through this article that I read last Thursday on Measure 2, because the funniest thing is, I'm not going to say his name, but he's also a politician. He came out in favor for Measure 2, which was weird. But I mean, I'm not hearing any real people, like humans, coming out. Like, give me, like, I understand the Constitution and not wanting to change it. But 1939, they forced us, the grassroots, to get cannabis legalized. The only way to protect us and get what we want is a constitutional amendment. We've seen that. We've seen experience with that, and we work hard, and then, all of a sudden these nitpickers come out of the closet to start picking apart something they were silent about. It almost feels sabotagey, and that's what, this Measure 2 would be, because, grassroots don't have time to wait another 2 years and whatever. So I'm going to shout out Ellie Shockley here, Protect ND. She's out on the social medias. She's going to be kind of our watchdog here, because I just do this show, and you see me on the street, I'm going to tell you no on Measure 2, because it doesn't give the people power. It makes us work just as hard, if not harder, for less money, while people who get salaried monies or whatever, their life is easier than mine, get to decide that all my hard work was in vain because of I'm protecting the Constitution, when I feel like you're protecting your boat and your woman's high-maintenance hair bill. So, because you got to feed the beast, am I right? But anyhow, Measure 2. It's a constitutional measure that could change all future measures for state elections if it were to pass in November. And again, it was House Bill 4001. It was a legislated, created one. We didn't decide we needed it. They decided we needed it based on, in my opinion, the uprising of people's decisions that differ with theirs. We voted them in. They should be right in step with us. But somewhere down the line, they're not in step with us. They're in step with something else. And it's becoming more and more apparent when they come up with these kind of separative bills, in my opinion, from the people and their power. When we gave them the power, I thought. So the petitioning process to get a measure on the ballot could become more difficult with passage of Measure 3. So Measure 2 is just veto power of the legislator against the people over constitutional amendments that we the people pass. Said member of Protect ND, Ellie Shockley. Shout out Protect ND. They'll take money. Solo RadioFreeFargo.org. But following Measure 3 being removed, see, and my dad hammered on about Measure 3 and some sort of fraudulent thing. I didn't even know that existed, but it's funny they slipped in Measure 2. It's almost like they created a confusing measure about losing your rights and power, and gave you another one where you lose your power and control. But it seems like it makes sense when they gave you a pre-written horrible measure. You know what I'm saying? So that's crazy. So anyway, boo on Scott Lauser, boo, double boo on Senator Dick Deaver, and 2 thumbs up for Ellie Shockley, Protect ND. And that's all I can say about that, because I get fired up and I'm on a thing. So this guy here, this band Skyhooks, it's from Australia. They wrote this song, and they pronounce horror funny, but the lead guy fell off a ladder last week. So I want to shout him out. And then we got new Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. They're coming out with stuff, too, and brand new Delta Spirit. See you on the other side of this. We'll get right into the show. Here we go. Oh, yeehaw on us. Wake and Bake by the Goats. Just want to say they're not listening, but thanks, the Goats, for being a super awesome intro. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on YouTube and Facebook. ND for Freedom of Cannabis. It's also a Facebook page. We're here to change the law, not break the law. And cannabis is, well, one of those things that could do so much good, but so then we're going to talk about the good. Then at the end, I'm going to wrap up with Iowa. And if you guys are following that basically they got all, 200,000 signatures. They were good to go. Then somehow they had to get a 5-judge court ruling all of a sudden, right? And it was like what do they call it? Like the midnight hour. The sheriff's department, if I read it right, found the single measure discrepancy in the people's measure for medical cannabis. And as you know, I talked about Governor Prickett's last week, about him still sounding like he was from, the 1949. Just guessing. When, the Harry Anslinger DuPont guy got it to be illegal. And I would argue that stinking bill that got snuck through was more than one measure or one topic. It wasn't a single issue measure. They had this weird hemp anti-Mexican, grass bill that was snuck in with something. They did it at the end of the day, records report, and they were tired. They wanted to go home to the scotch and water. See? But anyway, so that's why Measure 2 is so important for the power to the people. And I'll talk about that at the end, but I want to talk about the good news. And Illinois, they say, and again, I'm picking a lot of stuff out of Marijuana Moment. This was written by Kyle Yeager. Between him and Share King Doug Brandon, I appreciate it. I get a lot of help from him too, because he's somehow can figure out how to get these articles onto Facebook so I can snag them. He doesn't maybe know I'm directly doing that, but I'm telling you I am doing it, and I appreciate it. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm reducing stigma of cannabis by showing you other places it's legal. In North Dakota right now, the biggest problem is going to be Measure 2 on our ballot. As far as I know, we don't have a cannabis measure, and then we're going to go to legislation. That's where Committee for Compassionate Care, like Leslie, is going to, I suppose, clock in, because then we'll need people at the Capitol. I don't want to say lobbying, but coaxing people into our way. If, in fact, hopefully we can get a lot of people in when you vote in November, which, again, I'm not a political person, so I don't know. As far as I know, you're going to have to vote on a red box. You're going to have to go outside, Walgreens and, use the old red box to vote. But anyway, Illinois yet again breaks monthly marijuana sales. And so this is crazy. So it broke yet another monthly record in August. And this coming from State Department of Financial Professional Regulation. Despite the coronavirus pandemic, Illinois has been escalating cannabis sales month over month. Which, see, that's what I love to hear. But I don't like fat cats hearing stuff like this. Because you start telling greedy dudes that's got the cash, like these crazy results. I don't want them to know this results. But who do I want to have who do I want this information? The people, the voting people. Because, man, politicians, their eyes are glinty and squinty already. When, I almost want to say these numbers in code, But anyway, in August, consumers purchased more than 1.3 million marijuana products for a total of nearly 64 million. More than 17 million of those sales came from out-of-state visitors, which, if we wanted to speculate, because it's Saturday morning, we could say, 10 million of that gets distributed into motels and munchy food and their silicone pipey pipe, or whatever it is they get lured into because they're all high and they can. Or the people that are jumping over into Iowa, Wisconsin, bringing it home. I'm sure there's numbers to figure out how much of that 17 million from out-of-state visitors was collectively, motel, hit a burger joint, bought 14 pairs of shoes because they were all stoned on, on legal cannabis. Shout out to Illinois. And that being such a big state in the Midwest, us in North Dakota will probably result sooner. I don't know. We're all broke. And old Dougie B, I guess we got a lot of money. I don't know. I pay the rent by cleaning his, where he lives, ironically. But that's neither here nor there. But it's getting to the point where, as a blue-collar jobby guy in downtown Fargo who's lived in the same building, no Section 8 help, grinded for, raised a daughter 20 years now. In July, I've been 20 years in the Gardner, downtown Fargo. And it's getting to the point where I'm probably not going to be able to afford to live in the place where I work. To me, is that the truth of gentrification? Where you no longer can live where people go to visit because it's too expensive to live and just clean the very place that's, paying it. It's crazy. So anyway, in July, the sales reached about 61 million. So it's up 3 million. So this doesn't include data about purchases made through the state's medical cannabis program. See, so that's craziness. So there's still a trickle down of medical marijuana market. So This latest data seems to support the notion that the state's marijuana market is, and this is in quotes, recession-proof and pandemic-proof, as the top regulator said last month. Now we're talking about Illinois. I would say, isn't it the newest state to legalize? I think so. State officials have emphasized that while the strong sales trend is positive economic news, they're primarily interested in using tax revenue to reinvest communities most impacted by the drug war. Illinois brought in $52 million in cannabis tax revenue in the first 6 months. And that's all beautiful. You know, it really is. And so here's the thing. Apparently there's a weird lottery in Illinois. The state says it's a licensed lottery. Apparently there's alleged problems. I got to believe there's greed and all kinds of stuff. And that's the problem I have with these money makers. Because the fat cats come in, they go, I want all the money. I want all the money. You know, and they'll go, oh, here's a little money. And I just want it to be fair, you know, especially like in a place like South Dakota, or for people that have been poverty-stricken, given freedom and power. That's what America should be. The ability to have power and freedom of your own devices that was allowed you to, I guess, manipulate, you know, and benefit from. And cannabis, they're seeing it. It's stinking pandemic proof, some guy said on a article that I'm reading, so it's got to be right. But they pardoned more than 11,000 people with prior marijuana convictions, so that's cool. But anyway, lawyers behind one suit, because apparently the state said it would approve 25 or 75 license for cannabis owners, or stores, but only 21 ultimately qualified. You know, and so let's see. In January, out-of-state resident sales was 8 million. And it's consistently went up, although April it was down 7 million. But that number, that bad boy's going up, you know. And so anyway, I'm going to read this thing here about Pennsylvania. And this is exciting. Top Pennsylvania officials say state farmers can grow better marijuana than New Jersey. Okay, so now we got bragging rights now. And this is the governors, okay? So Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman said on Wednesday that farmers in his state can grow better marijuana than people in New Jersey, and that one reason why the state should expeditiously legalize cannabis before voters next door in the Garden State, which is Jersey, enact the policy change this November. The top state official made the quip during a marijuana reform rally where Governor Tom Wolf also reiterated his call for the legislature to advance adult use legalization of cannabis. New Jersey is going to vote to legalize marijuana, and 40% of our population will live within 30 minutes drive or less of legal marijuana. You see what I'm saying? He's not even calling it illegal marijuana, you know, because it's coming back. You know, everybody knows that, you know, but now they're volleying through the press. They're basically going, my weed's better than your weed. It's a weird turn of events, but it's definitely positive, you know. So anyway, Fetterman, he says, the governor and I think our legal marijuana is better. We think our farmers would grow better legal marijuana than New Jersey. We think we should reap the benefits, not New Jersey. And that's, you know, I think that's what I'm really saying. It's not New Jersey. They're going, listen, guys, this is what's going to happen. And you know they're looking at the numbers too. They're looking at that Illinois number. They're looking at all the out-of-state millions and the taxes. And their head is starting to, well, we're in a pandemic-y thing. The coronavirus has got everybody choked. You know, nothing's coming in and a lot's needing to go out. So they're looking, they're scrambling. You know, the people ain't happy. And thank God hemp has kind of came in and garnered such quotes as recession-proof and pandemic-proof, you know, and then somehow, like I said, they can figure out how much money is also spent while they're visiting. So shout out Pennsylvania, shout out New Jersey. They're going to get that worked out. And then I wanted to mention this. This is on the Bluntness article in, let's see. Never mind, I lied. But New Mexico is also, the governor also mentioned wanting to legalize it. So the New Mexican governor also, you know, has whatever. So Anyway, new research, I just wanted to read this too. New research reveals, this is on Forbes, and I just wanted to get this out because it's important. New research reveals why cannabis helps PTSD sufferers, which, I mean, the people that have PTSD definitely say that, you know, it helps them. But this is an actual test. Cannabis helps with their PTSD. This debilitating condition causes chronic problems like nightmares, panic attacks, hypervigilance. Never mind. Hypervigilance. In some cases, these overwhelming symptoms can lead to suicide. And while research on the topic has been somewhat inconclusive, many PTS continue to say that it helps. So new research points to that way that cannabinoids may help treat PTSD. One shows how cannabis can reduce activity in the amygdala, a part of the brain associated part of the brain associated with fear responses to threats. Meanwhile, another suggests that the plant's cannabinoids could place a role in extinguishing traumatic memories. Both effects could be therapeutic for those suffering from PTSD. And so that's all good stuff. One study from researchers at Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, which again, now when states are legalizing, they can research on the quality stuff that'll really work, not that weird, seedy government business. Looked at how cannabis use impacts the amygdala response of those dealing with trauma-related anxiety such as PTSD. Previous research has shown that cannabis has the potential to reduce anxiety or even prevent heightened anxiety in threatening situations. Guaranteed, I can say that it does. But up to this point, no studies has investigated this response. So the Wayne State University study took on the challenge, and they're studying that funny brain word, amygdala. Sounds like a place in Guantanamo Bay. Seems like a wing on Gitmo. You're going to the amygdala, sir. Responses in 3 groups of participants, healthy controls, and so that's good. They're using a randomized double-blind, and 71 participants were either given a low dose or a placebo, and then it was recorded. So those exposed to THC had lowered threat-related amygdala reactivity. This means that those who took low doses of THC showed measurable signs of reduced fear and anxiety in situations designed to trigger fear. Since these results were found in all 3 groups, it suggests that even those with PTSD were able to experience less fear with THC in their system. And so that's good news, and because it's research now that you can back up. You can say stuff about it. Otherwise, you just got a guy that's, saying it helps me, So, here we go. Legalizing weed will rebuild New Mexico's economy after COVID-19, governor said. New Mexico governor declared last week that she will prioritize legalizing rec pot to rebuild the state's economy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. On Wednesday, Governor Lujan Grisham announced her weed legalization plan during a live stream update concerning the state's response to the novel coronavirus. So after being asked about the possibility, blah, 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 she starts saying stuff like projections are nearly $100 million of recurring revenue into the budget. She wants to point out that vast majority of New Mexicans favor recreational cannabis. And that's, to me, the disconnect between the politicians. I feel like they're holding off so they can be in control of it all. And the people are moving faster than they like. Their infrastructure of politics and policies and board meetings and blah, 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 blah. It's not moving fast enough. We want people in there that'll listen to us. And I think that's the thing. I don't want the Constitution being messed with either. But somehow somebody in the legislative branch somewhere or the Supreme Court made hemp and cannabis horribly illegal with all kinds of weird monikers, like controlled substance, and it's worse than heroin. And man, people that's done heroin can tell you that's not true. I think I might have done a powdered heroin at one point, but I'm telling you, Oxycontin's slumped over in a chair with drool out of your mouth, holding a cold beer for 4 hours and not even drink it, is not pleasant. And I couldn't find any therapy in it. But of course, probably been up a few days too. But anyway, my point is it has to be politics for why cannabis became illegal, because it is so beneficial and so little has proven otherwise. No violence, blah, 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 blah. But anyway, so I wanted to bring up an interesting thing as we go into these election periods, because I think we're going to be able to vote on sheriffs and stuff like that. And this is something that, again, Doug, the Share King, he put out here. It's a letter, and everything's been blocked out, but it's by the Illinois State Police. And I will read it here. It's a letter to so-and-so from the State Police, September 4th, 2020. The firearm transaction, must try to get a gun, has been denied. You are federally prohibited from purchasing or possessing a firearm or ammunition for the reasons listed below. It's Section 18 U.S.C. 922 G3. Persons who are unlawful users of or addicted to any controlled substance. See, they're going to hammer that. Evidence of being addicted or medical cannabis license valid patient. See, now that's doubly gobbledygook to me. You know, it's an oxymoron somewhere. Evidence of being addicted or medical cannabis license. What? You know, is it a medical cannabis or is it a controlled substance? And so that's the weird thing. The cops want that to be the case. And it's almost like I said, in the midnight hour in Nebraska, all of a sudden the sheriffs were sitting around drinking, you know, Red Bulls and vodkas at Mary Lou's Pub and Grill in Carrington. Just guessing. But they're like, how? They'd had to have been in Nebraska. But how are we going to keep this from being voted on? We didn't know 200,000 people was going to vote on reducing our revenue stream. That's what they're thinking. We're not going to get as much money. We've got budgets and la-di-da-di-do. Indeed, we got to keep this certain money. We got to keep busting the easy meat. And cannabis has always been the easy meat. Nobody fights a cannabis measure, you know. Half of them have the money to get it. You know, it's just a hassle in their life. You know, maybe their job doesn't get better after that. But if you're a minority, I mean, statistics prove you probably never get out of the hole they put you in. And that's the thing, a hole they put you in. So, and there's states now that they can't put you in the hole, but they're trying, you know, even states that's legal, they're coming up with something. Like in Michigan, they're still going into head shops because head shops are starting to get a little loose because of the legal aspects. So they're looking for everything they can stink and get. All right, so let me keep reading this thing. But anyway, okay, so you are prohibited from purchasing or possessing a firearm under federal law for 1 year from the date of expiration of your medical cannabis license. You may submit an appeal to challenge the accuracy of the record that was used as the basis of your denial. To file an appeal or challenge the accuracy of record used to deny your firearm transaction, please complete the attached form. So I don't know. Again, a lot of this stuff don't make any sense. But he can't buy a firearm because evidence of being addicted or medical cannabis license. You know, so it's like, it's a bunch of gobbledygook. Okay, let me see if I can read again. You are prohibited from buying a gun or bullets under federal law for 1 year from the date of the expiration of your medical cannabis license. So are they saying you can have a gun when you have a medical card, but then if your medical card expires, you what? You know? So that's crazy right there. And that's September 4th, 2020 from the Illinois State Police Division of Justice Services. So under some weird statute, he was unlawfully allowed to get a gun because apparently so you can look that up yourself. But my point is when you combine that with what's happening now in Nebraska, cops, they were the ones that did the Hallbinger there. That word, boy, I didn't know I wanted to say it, but I don't even know if it applies. But hey, let's all say Hallbinger together. Hallbinger. Anyhow, it seems like it's like the tar pit. The cops wait until we the cannabis-directed people, put all our hard work in, and then they go up with a Hail Mary and go, da. Were you guys aware of the single, topic dealy? Oh, too bad. Your hard work was, it's like the people we put in there should be helping us figure out how to do it, how to get it legal. But there's definitely a resisted force between us and it looks like the cops, because I knew politicians, but I'm telling you, they start sniffing blood with this money. You've got governors now fighting, right? You got them fighting. They're looking over state lines going, I bet ours is better than yours. And they're almost tantalizing this cannabis as I don't know what it is, but it's happening and it's really exciting. And I just wanted to tell you that cannabis legalization is on its way everywhere. Now, I got to admit, the last couple minutes here, I don't like politicians. Oh, here's the thing. I knew that they weren't going to vote, the House was going to vote on the MORE Act. I don't know if that's good news, or bad news that they pushed it, because people say it's a pawn now, like the Senate wasn't going to vote it through anyway. So there's all kinds of blah, blah, blah stuff. All I know is research Measure 2 in North Dakota. Make sure that, I don't even want to tell you to vote no, but man, if you make an educated decision, you're going to vote no on Measure 2. Because again, if you're rich, you can handle the 2-year, you can handle the wait. And that's the thing. Politicians drag stuff out. Lawyers get $7,000 an hour. It's a big racket. Meanwhile, we're just out volunteering, getting the signatures, losing people, we don't have friends anymore because they think you're too loud about cannabis. And, people get scared of doing the right thing, in my opinion. So that's what I would say to everybody. When I come back next Thursday, just look into it. The constitutional amendment, if enough people, here's what I'm saying. Instead of coming up with a legislative-driven committee that's going to tell us whether or not our measure is good, why not just have us get more signatures? If 13,000 isn't enough to convince the people that the people know what they're talking about, make it 26,000. And then go, okay. The new Measure 2 is, if it's a constitutional amendment, make them get more signatures or something. But don't make all these hundreds of thousands of people, like in Nebraska, put all their sweat and tears, and then people go, well, they should have wrote it better. Well, their people in that position should have helped them. But they didn't. They waited till the last minute and then goes, oh, excuse me, Mr. Principal, they've got more than one subject here in the measure, I see. See, look at that. There's more than one. Whoop, they got to throw it out. So, Nebraska, I wish you the best. Protect ND, Ellie Shockley. She's in North Dakota. She's going to be watchdogging this thing with their group. Go over there, give them some love. I'm going to say what I love saying every time I do this. This hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Terps Candy. Terps Candy enhances, it relieves, and it god darn relaxes with the power of terpenes, and they make a great CBD companion. Terps Candy can be found at 14 Fargo Moorhead locations or online at terpscandy.net. Terps Candy, they're enhancing, relieve, relaxing. Well, thanks, guys. Saturday, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson on the YouTube, on the Facebook. Reach out with anything. If you have medical stuff, get a hold of Leslie at Committee for Compassionate Care. We're going to get ourselves into a ditty. This here is James McMurtry, who I've always loved. Choctaw Bingo. It's coming at you right in the face, and then I'll wish you adieu on the other side of this. Well, thank you, James McMurtry. Choctaw Bingo from his American Master Series, Best of the Sugar Hill Years, 2002. Well, you guys got your show on Saturday, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm here every Thursday at 4 o'clock, Canna News at 4:20. But aren't you glad I got that out of my system? Next Thursday, it'll be a fresh bag of cannabis news. See what I did there? But, yeah, so for all of you all out there that heard this beautiful message, educate yourself. Cannabis is not bad. It's going to be manipulated in states once they realize it's good, and that's going to happen. So we have to safeguard it because they didn't care until they smelled blood and tax dollars. So we're here to change the law, not break the law. Keep your head up. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson next Thursday on YouTube. I'll have this show minus the songs up thanks to my young Jamie Pilko. Canna Heads is his show on Sunday. You can listen to that on YouTube as well. Radio Free Fargo.